To all of you. It's always a bit difficult to concentrate in the afternoon, but hope you had a great lunch and would be giving attention. As explained, I'm based in Sydney, the University of New South Wales in Australia, and I'd be taking you along with some of the projects that we have been doing in the space of smart cities, with specific focus on data-driven approaches to smart cities. So these are the aspects that I'll be covering in my presentation. So we'll be starting with which this institution works upon and what are its focus and strengths. And then I would deep dive into some of the projects that we've been doing in terms of open data and data analytics, open data stores, and also the dashboards that we've been developing. And I will end with some of the modeling and spatial collaboration tools that we have been developing with some of our partners in London and in the Phoenix, US. So Smart Cities Research Cluster is a 5-year-old institute that is based within the University of New South Wales, which is globally top 50 university. And it focuses on smart tools that captures real-time data and streams through various websites, municipal corporation websites or government websites, and which helps in reporting of data in real time and decision management systems. And I have been also sitting as a global fellow at the Plus Alliance, which is an alliance between the Imperial College London in UK and Arizona State University in the US, and of course UNSW. I'll be visiting next month to King's to discuss some of these collaborations, and we are setting across living laboratories, which you have, might have heard about these living laboratory concepts. We are testing pilot case studies in those areas. So what we have been doing is data-driven approaches to smart cities. Now, why data is important and increasingly becoming important is that we have a lot of projects and a lot of solutions. But how do we capture data and make meaning and value out of those data and monetize the data is a challenge that we continuously face. And smart cities across the globe, so this is where smart cities as a term has catch up. All through the morning I have seen presentations where people were talking about riverfront development or lake pond development. Such solutions has been there as part of the Sustainable Cities program, Eco Cities program. But what is special about smart cities is that it captures data from various sensors and various technologies to make meaning out of those and help city makers in driving new solutions. And so we are helping basically achieving those sustainable development goals, goal 11, which talks about the smart communities and societies. So we all know data is available. We always comes across with the excuses that I think the minister in the morning laid out, that we don't have anything. Cities does have a lot of repository of data that lies outside the public realm. Those are never in the picture. Because of the fractured institutional mandates, you have different governmental aspects of states, cities, even the city departments, there are line departments, infrastructure departments, everybody has data, but they never come together. And also there are streams of data that are from the houses, from the mobile apps. Now how do we bring all those together in one platform? Now if you see the overall data feed structure, we have overall two types of data. One is the top-down data. Now, these top-down data comes from the census, which government collects every 10 years. Some countries develop 5-year, and so on. So these are demographic data, travel pattern. You know, we have this climate data which comes from meteorology and so on. And the other streams of data is the bottom-up data that comes from us, the people mostly, and those are mostly in the private realm. So accessing them is a challenging task. Now, the interesting dimension of smart cities is that how do you bring these two top-down and bottom-up data together to make meaning and make decisions more intelligently. And so if I can elaborate with one example that we have been doing in Sydney is this public transit data that we have been capturing and analyzing. So we all know public transport and car ownership data is always there. And Sydney has this Opel card, and I think many of the Indian cities are doing this smart card. So how this data have been captured and analyzed to design a city which is called 30-minute Sydney City, We all know transit-oriented development and development along the transit corridors, but how do we make this into a 30-minute city? That's Australia government's priority that we are supporting them. So what we are doing is basically this tap-on, tap-off data that comes from buses, trains, all this public transport is being analyzed through this medium that we have developed in UNSW. So this you see is the 30-minute travel distance, if you can look at the maps. So how many people are traveling every day in those distances in 30 minutes? We are also doing it at a larger time limit of 60 minutes. I haven't shown the in-between because of time. So 60 minutes, you can see how far they are covering. Now, how does this help is that we are helping now City of Sydney decide which are the routes they should put the metro. Because if you see the yellow lines is less than 30 minutes travel, but the extreme right is the one which is more than 60 minutes. So more than 60 minutes means you need faster public transport. So City of Sydney is now developing metro corridors along these routes to reduce the travel time. And on the extreme left, within the 30 minutes, what we are developing is more bicycle friendly and more carbon neutral pedestrian networks, which is already within our sort of range. We are doing a lot of pilot tests through this data analytics. What we are doing now in Sydney is this City of Sydney has a 2030 strategy towards sustainability and net zero city. Now, how we are helping them achieving this is by analyzing what is the green cover and carbon emission that the city faces. Now, this map, which you see, is the green cover, the green canopy in the entire Greater Sydney metropolitan area. Now, if I show you the next map, this is the heat map. Now, heat data comes from the meteorology, and it's also the temperature sensors that across the city, the data were lying. Now we are bringing all this data into one map, and the red ones are the one where you see there are very high temperatures. And on the right-hand side, the blue ones are where the higher vegetation cover are there. So what we conclude is the level of vulnerability towards heat and temperature-related disasters are very high on those red dots. And these correlations, if you see, we have run through SPSS, does clearly say that just 10% increase in green cover or canopy reduces half-degree temperature. This is a real revelation that new cities have been trying to understand through these analytics. And previously, these data were all lying here and there, and we are bringing them to make meaning and value out of those data. And so what we are also doing is, which is called Better Building Partnership Program in Sydney. So what we are doing is bringing the developers. I have heard in the morning this developer person was speaking, because a lot of this data lying with the private developers, and they are never in the scene. How do we bring them on board to make our goals clearer? Now what we are doing is, you can see Invest Property Group, Big Bill, so all the big developers are now in contract with City of Sydney, and they have to mandatorily provide the data from within their cantonments. And now what we are doing is we are streaming all those data that we are coming, water demand, energy use, and all those data are now being aggregated at the city level and streamed through this website. How does this help? Is this helps in every year how we are performing compared to the last year. Because we need to see, are we improving? Are our efforts that we are putting through bicycle or new public transport, are we improving? So these charts or maps or real data actually helps you assessing that. And what we have done now is, for Greater Sydney Commission, we have developed this dashboard. So this link is there. You can go right now, right there live, and check across in our university website. What we are doing is, you can see the transport data, climate, temperature data, real live CCTV footages, everything is now streamed. So any citizen wants to know what is happening in the city right now, right here, they can move in and check it. So this is, what it's doing is bringing more transparency, giving power to people. So data was there, but it was of no use. Now we are making meaning out of those data, giving more power to people, and this is how we should move ahead in the smart city race. And moving on towards the next projects that we are doing with the Sydney City, is also analyzing the bike data that is available in Sydney. So City of Sydney has an extensive bicycle network, and some of them are e-bikes, some of them are conventional bikes, but most of them run through the app. All the bicycle sharing is done through app, and so the data is there. Now those data were lying and not used. Now we have done a project with City of Sydney and analyzing those data. What we're doing is now visualizing how the people is moving every second through those city lanes. Now I will run through this quickly, and you will see this visualization is not going through. I think there's some problem with the system, or else you could have seen every minute how the bicycles are moving. You can quickly go into this link that has been provided in our university website, and you'll see every minute how the bicycles are running through those streets. It's not working, sorry for that. And we are also now analyzing the age and gender and a lot of these other aspects of bicycling, because we keep saying green transport, bike, but who will use and who will not use? Why? Now it's a very interesting experience here. Sydney is a very advanced city, progressive city, but you can see only 10% of the city's bicyclists are women, and rest are men. So you see why? We are asking why. Now some of those routes are maybe not safe. You can see the northern areas, the work and living are much far away, and women are not really habituated to bike long distances. And so how do we make meaning of such analysis and plan for next future cities is an area that we are looking at. And this is catching a lot of imagination in newspapers and so on. So what we are also doing is these data are with us, we are working, but we are also opening up this data. All about smart cities opening up of your resources and not sit over them and doing nothing. So what we are doing, open data are now put through here. So the analytics data infrastructure, rapid analytics, which I will be showing you in a minute, and all this bicycle data are all there to see for anybody to come play with those data. Startups, incubators are now coming to our university, situating there and playing around with this data and making meaning apps and a lot of other stuff. And so all these data sets and analytics are done on open source. So we are not creating something new, which is already there, we are just banking on them. So you can see open standards such as FS or world mapping system we are using, and also ISO international metadata. The last project that I'll be showcasing is collaborative tools for urban planning. I think it's been long that our cities are depending on consultants for way too long and way too deeply. And what we are developing is giving across tools to city authorities to plan their cities by themselves in a realistic and easy manner. Now, how is that doing? Now, we are developing something called Geo Design. This is there for last decade, but this has been used increasingly more intensively now. Now, what we are doing is we are developing master plans using these softwares. Now, this you can see in master plans, you have housing or residential, commercial, transport, and other such systems. Now, what we are doing is grading those systems. That, okay, if there is residential, what is highly intensive residential capability in those areas? What is low intensity areas of prospectiveness? And then we create across maps, and so for each subsystems, residential infrastructure, blue infrastructure, we create those maps. And these are then the projects being drawn across by the city authority staffs and collaborators. Now, this is very interesting, and it also gives the budgeting and phasing in a real-time manner. Now, who does this? This is not done with a consultant, but this is we have done with the City of Sydney, its Water Commission, Transport Authority. All the people come together under one roof and drawing across this map over 1 week. So the cities and intelligent smart cities are not anymore completely relying on the consultants. Their fate is in their own hands with these easier tools that we can use. So we run across these workshops. We have done this all over the world, in Italy, and we are also doing it in now Chennai. So what we are trying to develop is these easy to use tools, and this software, if you can see it across with me, is very easy to use. Any layman using a computer can draw these projects in these systems. And this is useful because they know their city, they're working in those areas, and so the projects and plans that come out are more realistic rather than somebody sitting in Delhi or London making your city's plan, okay? So at the end, what we are also doing is some of the projects we have been developing, and cities are implementing the infrastructure projects. But the real value of those projects are being taken over by the private developers. Now you are proposing some metro or a bus stop or a transit station, but are you capturing the value from those infrastructure investments? We are developing systems that captures the land value from this. If you can see this map, what we are developing, we have taken 18 separate indicators for each land parcel to be assessed. This can be used for property tax also. So this is distance from the metro station, distance from the bus stop, distance from the main road, parks, schools, hospitals, all of these elements comes into picture. And we are now evaluating each land parcels and rating them, and also visualizing them in 3 dimensions. So any city authority staff can sit across in one room. So what we do now in our campus, you can see along with City of Sydney, we have developed these visualization tools. Well, in real time, you could move over across all the city in 3 dimensions and value your land in a real 3 dimensions. And this also helps in community inputs, and people understand how their lands are valued, and they participate in these discourses. I will not go through all of these because of time. And this is the last one that we are developing, flood information systems model with Parramatta City Council. So all the data from meteorology, from temperature sensors, and all this real-time climate data have been put together to develop a real-time flood model. And in real time now, the city has the capacity to see, along with the rainfall all throughout the day, with the rainfalls and the contour data available, in real time you can see what is the probability of next hour's flooding. Every hour, so it's a real time, and this gives you amazing capacity to disaster manage. So you can see what is happening with the data. Is big data can be a very powerful tool for city planning and future management of cities. Open data is an infrastructure now. We are talking about water supply, sewage, data is an infrastructure. How well you utilize it and make meaning is a key. And so these are some of the engagements that we are doing with the Ministry of Urban Development, Niti Aayog. We have been working with some of the institutions at the national level in India, and also in City of Sydney and many other organizations. Thank you for your attention in the afternoon. Thanks very much.